Welcome viewers to the Market Review, where we discuss developments in the financial and capital market as it relates to the economy. Today, we'll be taking a look at the recent approval by the Corporate Affairs Commission and the Securities and Exchange Commission, the mutualization process of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So in essence, the Nigerian Stock Exchange is now demutualized. It has three components, which are the Nigeria Exchange, that's the NGR Exchange Limited. It also has the Nigeria Regulation Limited, and also the Nigeria Real Estate Limited, NGX Limited. We need to discuss the implications of this mutualization for the Nigerian capital market and its operators is Mr. Patrick Ezeagu. He's the chairman of the Association of Securities Dealing Houses of Nigeria, ASHON. Nice to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Very well. So we've discussed this last year and we're bracing up for this. Now it's a reality. You've been part of the process too. So how are your members and operators now aligning with this new development and preparing to reposition themselves with the new realities?
Thank you and welcome viewers. I must start by saying that I am very, very happy to be part and parcel of this process that ensure that at least the exchange is fully demutualized. This process started over 7 years ago, and it had its own issues, but we were able to navigate through all the corners and the bends, and then we have been able to bet this issue of recapitalization. Not recapitalization, sorry, the demutualization. The demutualization, as you know, is the process that ensures that the exchange moves from being a mutual organization to the one that people now have to own shares and then runs fully as a profit-making organization. And so the full implication for the capital market is the fact that having now gotten about 3 organizations out of it, those 3 organizations will all focus on its own core mandates. Let's start from the list. That is the property one that will now focus on the real estate. The Regico would have to focus on regulation and be in a position to appropriately regulate the market, while the Nigerian Stock Exchange will eventually focus on providing the platform for the brokers to be able to apply their trade. But more importantly is the fact that the exchange itself have been freed up in the manner that at least we're able to focus on ensuring that it's very, very aggressive in the marketplace by providing services and products that will ensure that the market is so deepened that it will compete effectively among the capital markets in the whole world. But more importantly is the fact that with the nature of the product they are going to be offering, they are now intending to be the capital market infrastructure provider for even Africa.
Wow. Because
there are other things that are happening along the way. If you look at the vision that the current demutualized exchange is focusing on, further that they are going beyond the Nigerian environment and they're moving into the African continent to be the leader. So I think that is the major issue. But as to the brokers, obviously our members, from the time we commence the process of demutualization, we have been sensitizing our members on the need for them to understand that this will impact on their model of doing business. And this we have done consistently to the point where, in fact, last week, we had a webinar. And that webinar focused on the future of securities dealing business in Nigeria post-demutualization. And we had very, very important Nigerians who spoke at that seminar. I believe that you have had most of the things that I've said that there are no need to repeat them here.
Mm.
But most importantly is the fact that members are going to gear up in terms of their technology, in terms of their human capital requirements, in terms of the processes, so that we're able to operate within the new arrangement.
That's very fair and to note. And I guess that you've been having conversations with your colleagues in South Africa, already demutualized exchange, JSE, Johannesburg Stock Exchange, to even learn from how they've been able to scale since their demutualization too. In terms of trading activities, we expect to see huge volumes. Are members looking at new targets and horizons in terms of trading activities? You've talked about technology. Is this going to really scale under this dispensation?
Prior to now, we are already engaging our colleagues across Africa. In fact, we now have a new association of stockbrokers and security dealing members in Africa. That's a new outfit that came as a result of the Asia conference that we held in Botswana last 2 years.
Yeah.
That was in 2019.
Mm.
And the whole essence was to, run along with the African Leakage Project, which has to do with the fact that most of these mutualized exchanges want to link up in a manner that it will have one hub that can service all of them, in a manner that you will now have brokers from the various jurisdictions trading in other jurisdictions. In that wise, it is possible for a broker in Nigeria to be able to trade in Nairobi Stock Exchange using what they call the model of sponsored access.
Mm.
And these have been ongoing even before we have become fully demutualized. And I believe that this thing is going to gain more traction as the events unfold. That will be coming very, very soon. In fact, we are going to have another meeting where we're going to articulate the methods and the ways we're going to be able to push this thing forward and ensure that Africa as a whole becomes more like one market.
And as we're discussing, I want to add the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. It took effect since January. So are you also factoring that window that is an opportunity for all securities dealing members in the African market, particularly the Demutualized Exchange, to further leverage this window and opportunity?
In fact, the African Continental Free Trade Zone is something we have been calling for a very long time. And the private sector had equally moved beyond just calling for it. That's why we started off the West African Capital Market Integration Council,
the WAMI,
where we try to integrate the West African markets. Mm. And aside from that, now we are going into the Asia arrangement, whereby most of the formidable exchanges in Africa have come together under ASEA, as African
Stock Exchange Associations, yeah.
To be able to now form a formidable fund, because the world becoming a global village, and so Africa must be able to put the acts together in terms of capital markets so that they'll be able to now compete effectively, because that's the only way we can attract funds into the continent, by providing a market structure that will enable the foreign investment to flow towards Africa. And that is the whole essence. So the African Continental Free Trade Zone is something we have advocated for, and it is okay that it's come on, but you know that you need to have the political will to be able to carry this things through. I still see some kind of resistance from our francophone neighbors, but I think we're working on that, and at the appropriate time, maybe they'll be able to give in and they'll be able to achieve our aim.
So yeah, so definitely you've talked about the linkage, the technology, and the connectivity, and of course achieving that very single market that can really put you in the best position to trade and engage global markets.
That's correct.
Yeah, yeah. Now let's look at something interesting for me. I mean, demutualized exchanges globally do have a very huge capitalization. I remember that the currency of the Nigerian Stock Exchange was very bullish, and I must say it's good to be very ambitious and bullish of ₦1 trillion capitalization. I once had a side conversation with him, and of course he highlighted those challenges which are very germane in the country in achieving that. We have several $1 trillion markets in the world, but of course this demutualization should set us very well on that path. But let's first start with the target of, is it feasible now that it's demutualized as an exchange to say let's hit about a $200 and $250 billion capitalization by 2022? Is that achievable beyond that capitalization rate?
Well, but naturally, when you have this kind of scenario, people tend to be very ambitious. And we'll have a very big market in Nigeria there to get people to really buy into the market. If you look at the total number of participants in the market in terms of shareholders, they are still within about 10 million. But if you have a population of about 200 million, and we're able to bring in products that will attract much more number of people into the market, we might be able to at least meet that target and even surpass it. Yeah. But it depends on what we do from now to the year 2022. Now that they have been freed from the shackles of mutual organization, yeah, I think that they are going to be more aggressive out there. And it's left for the brokers to actually be prepared to be able to join forces and have synergy to be able to run to achieve that target.
So the brokers have to be very innovative, creative, and synergize efforts to see how that can be achieved. I remember one occasion, one of the China Institute of Stockbrokers Summit, where Harun Ajalo Waziri, when he was the ED, Executive Director of Business Development at Nigerian Stock Exchange, said, look, when you go to New York, you see what the brokers are driving. I mean, their car parks and all that. And that's a big vision. I mean, you get to the Broad Street and you see so very, very attractive zone, car park zones, nice flashy things, just showing that people are really making huge impacts and are doing well. So I think the demutualization is setting that pace, and definitely we hope to see that scenario happen very soon. Mr. Patrick Ezeagu, I'm very optimistic about that.
And I am very optimistic as well. That's why I'm telling you that although there's going to be a learning curve, yes, but we need to move faster. Yeah. And I think that the way and manner we are, the economy and the population supports such targets.
The dynamics, yeah. Mr. Patrick, I know we really are pressed for time, but we're in dire straits as a country. Currently, we have a high unemployment rate. Currently 33.3%. We are facing huge infrastructure deficit that needs to be addressed. Of course, our current debt profile is over 30 trillion naira. We really need to address those infrastructure gaps. We need to revitalize the economy that needs to work for everyone, inclusive growth. You mentioned 200 million population. What is it for the capital market to support Nigeria's economy, particularly this year and beyond, because of this very dire situation we found ourselves?
The capital market is a platform to raise funds and to mobilize savings. And so it is important that the government understands the importance of the capital market as a source of funding for all the infrastructures and whatever government intends to do. And so what actually will determine to what extent that the capital market will assist in reducing unemployment depends on what the government and those who use the capital market to raise funds are able to do. So if the organized private sectors, as well as the government, moves into the market to raise funds, which I believe the capital market is in a position to be able to provide, then it will become a good enabler for people to be able to start off their businesses and then begin to do expansion programs and retooling. In that process, you require manpower to be able to drive that. The same thing happens in terms of technology. if people, are going to acquire new technology that are going to expand their business and make their business more efficient, that will create opportunities for people to be able to be employed and then begin to take people out of poverty. But as long as the government shies away from the capital market, because it's supposed to, as a leader, as the political leadership, signpost what the capital market should be able to do. And in that way, show others the way to move into the capital market and raise funds for their, requirements. In that way, once the capital is raised, people are going to put into some productive use, which eventually will attract, people, the high caliber kind of, talent that are around in Nigeria.
So in essence, we need more creative products, revenue bonds, strategic ways of assessing the capital market, federal, not just federal, but states too, to really begin to address specific projects that will have economic impact on the nation.
In fact, that is part of the benefit of the demutualization is the fact that it's going to introduce a higher degree of competition among players within the industry. And such will ensure that people begin to create exotic products that will attract both the millennials and the old generals of the capital market.
Millennials particularly, they need to really be part of the market because they hold when you look at what happened in GameStop, the incidents in the US, you know that definitely a lot of things, dynamics have changed. And
they're very important because that is how to actually mobilize savings for productive use.
Yeah, very, very important. Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick Ezeagu, Chairman, Association of Securities Dealing Houses of Nigeria, for the time discussing the demutualization that has happened now and the opportunities that abound to build a robust capital market and, of course, in larger sense, build an inclusive economy. Hope to have you in subsequent editions discuss other developments in the capital market as it affects the economy. Thank you once again for the time.
Thank you very much, and good morning to viewers.
Thank you. Well, that's it for today, discussing the capital market and the financial market, how it relates to the economy, market review. If you want to get further insight into what we discussed today, log on to our website, www.proshareng.com, and on the right hand of the bar, click on capital market. You see all the developments and discussions around the markets. Don't forget that the demutualization process, which was announced recently by Nigerian Stock Exchange, was carried also by ProShare, and we have full articles and reports on that development and the implications for the capital market. Also, if you have questions and further comments around these developments, you can send them to news@proshareng.com. We'll be glad to receive them and respond to you appropriately. We once again thank you for being part of this, and of course, till when next we connect with you on this conversation. Please stay safe and have a nice day.